Hey guys, this is Camfrey15 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back again for another week of Pokemon movie reviews. And yes, we are finally on week number 4, and we're here to talk about the movie Pokemon Forever. Yes, one of the most I guess you can say another iconic film in the franchise. It's a movie everybody knows about if you're in the Pokemon community. uh Pokemon Forever. Obviously, this Pokemon movie is centered around Celebi, and it's got some well, let's just say I made sure to watch this movie with an open eye, and oh boy, this movie has some problems. Some problems. Heh, heh, heh. Anyways, let's talk about this film that is nostalgic, yes, but at the same time, not bad. Or at the same time, a bad nostalgia film. Pokemon Forever. So, let's get to it. So we start the movie off with Celebi running away from a Houndoom and a Scyther. And essentially it's being hunted by these Pokemon hunters. Also, too, the movie starts off with an introduction about Ash and company and stuff like that, yada yada yada. Whatever. So the movie starts off, Celebi is getting chased by this Pokemon hunter, but we see this boy who's walking to the forest, and there's this priestess girl who kind of is like the looker or watch over the forest. Essentially tells this said boy, listen, don't be careful when you go into the forest, because there is this thing called the voice of the forest. And if you end up running into the voice of the forest, just make sure you just stand there and do nothing. Otherwise, the voice in the forest will be able to transport you throughout time. So my first question I have to ask this is this, and I'm just being honest and real. If there's a potential possibility that you can get in trouble with this voice of the forest, you're just supposed to stand still. Now listen, I'm a black person. And the best thing that we people do when we see danger is we run. I don't stand. I don't do the dumb thing. I run because I know I have a better chance at potentially escaping whatever said tragedy or issue that occurs. And of course, you get out there maybe safely. If not, hey, at least you die trying, right? Anyways, as I was saying, um, as I was saying, anyways, this boy goes into the forest. He's just kind of a drawing type of thing guy and everything, and lo and behold, he sees the Celebi flying through him, and then he sees the Pokemon chasing the Celebi. He eventually tries to put a stop to this, but because of this, it makes Celebi essentially take him through time, and he ends up 40 years later into the future. So we cut over to the present time after 40 years of that scene has passed. And we meet up with Misty and Brock with the group. They're waiting for Ash to get to this ferry. Ash ends up fighting this person with a crocodile. Again, your typical Pokemon intro to the movies where you get played the main song theme of the representative season of Pokemon. So yeah, hey, this one was actually dope. All the ones are pretty, all the movie versions of the full themes of the songs are pretty, good anyways. So yeah. Um, that's the thing. Ash wins. Now on the way there, it's funny enough, Brock brings out his Crobat, and I'm like, Crobat's pretty big enough to carry a human on his back. Why not Ash just use Crobat to fly down to where Brock and Misty is? And you don't see it to where later on Ash almost literally freaking misses the ferry and almost falls into the ocean, potentially probably getting carved up by the boat's rotors underneath. But okay, no, Ash is saved. He manages to get on board the ship, and yeah, they end up observing this one thing in the forest, and they actually come across and they see Suicune, who's another legendary, star legendary here, which I find hilarious. Last movie was with the last movie was Entei. This movie, well, it's focused on Suicune now. Well, not focused, more focused on Celebi, but hey, we had a good Entei was really good in the third movie. Let's use another one of the legendary dogs in this film. Let's use Suicune. Sadly, Suicune in this movie, although was one of the better parts of the film, still it wasn't a really good Pokemon film in my opinion, but whatever. Um yeah, they bring it up and stuff like that. Now, Suicune's nickname, I forgot, is like Wind of the Forest or something like that. North Wind, the North Wind of the Forest or something like that. Yeah, something like that. I forgot. But what happens is they end up telling Professor Oak about it. He's like, "Oh, you probably saw Suicune and stuff like that." And they're like, "Oh, okay, that sounds dope and everything." And stuff like that. And they tell Professor Oak, "Hey, we're gonna go to the forest and look out." And essentially, Professor Oak's like, "Okay, make sure you tell me about your journeys after you're done." And then after they got off the line, we covered up Professor Oak, and let's just say Professor Oak is like, I probably should have told Ash about that, about what he's about to see, which eventually foreshadows the fact that we see his freaking past self essentially traverse through time. But anyways, they end up going to the forest and everything. They end up coming across a girl that looks similar to the girl from the past, but it's actually her granddaughter. Brock, of course, hits on said girl. I'll say she's actually one of the main lookers of the movie, of the series I've seen. She looks just as good as Lisa does, but whatever. He hits on her, but it seems like more than enough. The one random dude that shows up in the air balloon, like, it makes a match. I feel like they're more of a match than Brock and this girl, but I digress. Anyways, we see the lady from 40 years back in the past who was all young, is actually an older lady, and essentially says the same thing tells the same thing to Ash and company like she did to the boy 40 years ago. Um, and stuff like that about, you got to stand still if you hear the voice of the forest and stuff like that, and you can traverse through time. Anyways, because of his, Ash gets excited, he runs off into the forest, and eventually what happens is they hear this noise, they think it's the voice of the forest. Ash runs off, um and Misty and Brock follow him. Then that's when we see Celebi with said boy into this time period. Celebi flies away for a bit or hides behind the structure. And then they end up picking up this kid. They take him over to the old lady. Old lady recognizes the kid, and says, "You traveled through time 40 years," and stuff like that. She actually held this hand drawing book and everything for those 40 years and stuff like that. So insanity. Anyways, we find out this boy's name is Sam, or Sammy or whatever. That he calls himself Sam and stuff like that. And essentially, the thing is, the way to get him back to his own time is he has to essentially find Celebi to potentially do it. So after that, they go look to find Celebi and everything. But Celebi, because of being essentially traumatized with the fact that it was attacked by a hunter in the past, well, it's pretty distrusting to Ash and Sam. But eventually Ash and Sam break through and they manage to frickin' well, understand Celebi, and Celebi understands where they're coming from and have a good time. And then that's when we get introduced to the big bad of this film. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I skipped over his part. Well, anyways, let's get to it. The main villain of this film, which I think is another weak part of the film, if not the worst part of this film, that honestly I believe drags this entire film down. Because a good movie with these whole things, the past few movies, is you gotta at least have a good solid antagonist. Mewtwo. I thought Mewtwo was mediocre to average antagonist. Lawrence the Third, I thought he was kind of a, honestly, just a mediocre villain that didn't know what the hell he was doing. And Molly Hale, in terms of an antagonist, I thought was great, and so far was the best one. So you would think the Pokemon people who did this movie would find some way to make even a better antagonist. or even a legit evil bad guy, that's better than, say, a child. Well, boy, were you wrong, because the main villain of this film, aka called the Mass Marauder, yes, that's his name, the Masked Marauder. Yeah. Okay. We see him at the start of the film, and he actually attacks the freaking Pokemon hunter from 40 years ago who tried to get Celebi. And the thing is, he found out he was the thing he found out he went after Celebi. How the hell he knows that? No, I fucking idea. Don't care. Don't care. Don't give a crap. I don't care. But essentially, what the dude does is he goes haywire with his Pokemon on this Pokemon Hunters, I guess you can say collection of Pokemon he's captured. He frees his Tyranitar and he uses a specialized Pokeball called a Dark Ball, which essentially enhances a Pokemon's ability, makes them 10 times more evil, and yeah. And essentially that's when the freaking past Pokemon is like, okay, here, I'll tell you. So, anyways, what happens is going on to that, we essentially cut back to like where I was saying, Ash and company run into the Mass Marauder. Also, too, another thing we find out too is the Mass Marauder actually works for Team Rocket, because under his big red vest he has the big R symbol. Team Rocket is in this film, and they somewhat assist him and everything. But that's how we know he's from Team Rocket and everything, because Team Rocket's like, wait, we know who you are. You're the Mass Marauder. Anyways, he's going after Celebi to capture Celebi, for which I'll get into in a bit, which I think is a pretty stupid way to use a legendary Pokemon in your generic villain way, if not worse, and stuff like that. He ends up sending his Scizor and Sneasel after it, but Ash and Sam take care of him with their Pokemon. The one thing I did find was cool was the fact that since Sam is from the past, his Pokeballs look different compared to Ash's Pokeball. And funny enough, I'm playing Pokemon Legends Arceus, which Pokemon Legends Arceus Pokeballs look different to the Pokeballs that Sammy did. It's more advanced, but anyways. They end up defeating him. They get away. They end up going to this lake that essentially kind of is the life of the forest, this lake of the forest. And it's kind of essentially a healing, type of lake. It heals Pokemon's injuries and stuff like that. They use it to heal Celebi. Celebi's back to 100% healthy. Celebi creates a bond with Ash and Sam and everything. You do get a nice middle part where Sam and Ash start to connect a little bit more, speaking about their moms and stuff like that, especially from Sam's perspective. He's like, my mom's really missing me because, well, I'm gone and everything. And I did like the whole aspect of how Sam asked Ash, like, does your mom miss you? And I did like the fact that Ash is like, yeah, she misses me a lot, which makes sense, especially if you saw the third movie, and even the second movie, they went into that a little bit. The fact that she's always worried about him 24/7, and stuff like that. So yeah, anyways, you get to the main integral plot of the thing. They got Celebi. They're looking to head out of the forest to potentially see what they can do with Celebi and to see if they can get Sammy back to his time. But they end up running into the Mass Marauder again. Yes, this guy. And he ends up actually winning the fight. He ends up throwing the Dark Ball at Celebi after capturing it. Celebi's in his hands. Ash goes up on his little spider thing, trying to take the ball. He gets the ball out of his hand, so he has Celebi in his hands, and all the Mass Marauders got to do is this to knock Ash out. You would think he would freaking punch him with one hit and Ash is knocked out. It would have been understandable, especially for a kid. No, this is how Ash gets knocked out and loses Celebi. Literally gets stepped on his hands. Now, I don't know if there is actually there is pressure points in. Well, no, there's a pressure point in your wrist. But just from the Mass Marauder stepping on Ash's hand, he passes out. If I could show you the clip without getting copyright stricken, I would. Trust and believe. I honestly was dying of pure laughter. Are you serious? How does somebody? This is the first time in history I've seen somebody get knocked out by just getting stepped on their hands. I don't know if Ash has some sort of secret pressure point there in his hands. And mind you, he's actually wearing gloves. So, what? Okay, yeah, stupidly getting stepped on loses you Celebi. The Masked Marauder unleashes Celebi, and Celebi is essentially all powerful and a lot stronger than it previously was. It creates a horrible CGI wood-like vine creature. Jesse's captured because why not? And then this is what we find out about the Masked Marauder's goal. Why is he doing what he's doing to capture Celebi? Yeah, he's just doing this to have the strongest Pokemon in the world, which AKA is a lie. I know Arceus wasn't a thing yet, but I would believe that Arceus is the strongest Pokemon in the world of Pokemon because he is the god of all Pokemon. So, okay, it's your typical, I want to rule the world with said legendary Pokemon, but I also want to make sure Giovanni can bend over and understand the power I have. Maybe he actually saw what happened in the first Pokemon movie and he was like, let me do me one better. Let me actually have a Pokeball that actually controls the Pokemon to my will. Really? That's his main objective. It's your typical I want to control the world, but truly it's kind of I want to be the leader of Team Rocket. Anyways, his plan, his motivations are honest to God bullshit. Who so far out of all the movies up to this point I've watched, he's the weakest by far. Hell, I'd even take Mewtwo's generic I want to rule the world and kill all people in Pokemon who side with humans and stuff like that plot line, his motivations more than that. That's actually more convincing than this guy. This guy is just like, I'm evil for this reason, and I want to capture this Pokemon to take over the world / take over my team's corporation. He has no main purpose or no main goal. Why is he going to use Celebi ultimately? What's the reasoning behind just I want to take over the world? Was he wronged by this? Do you have some sort of connection to Celebi? I don't know. If anything, too, he also looks like he's some sort of relative of the freaking hunter we saw at the start of the film. Anyways, he's controlling Celebi. You get a horrible CGI, like I said. About the I shouldn't be blaming the CGI for its time, but it still looks complete dog crap. I don't know when this movie was created, but they could have did a better job with the CGI. But what am I saying? In the last movie, the CGI for the unknown looked like complete dog piss. Just like this. So you get a force threat. He's also using Celebi to destroy the forest and everything. So what happens is Ash and company are trying to slow down Celebi, but guess what? They can't, and it looks like Celebi is going to kill Ash and Sam, but Suicune in the nick of time, of course, shows up and saves Ash and Sam. Ends up trying to get into the top of Celebi to try to stop Celebi from doing all of this, and everything. But what happens is Ash and Sam are trying to talk to Celebi. So like, hey, come on, Celebi, you got to snap out of it. He's using you and stuff like that. And it comes to the point where Celebi is fighting the resistance of the Dark Ball, and everything. And it ends up overcoming in the evil energy it was imbued with and everything. And it's good again. But the only thing is, so the Masked Marauder's plan is stopped. The only problem with this whole thing is the fact that even though they save Celebi, well, Celebi is literally on the brink of death. Now I'll say to this credit, this was honestly an emotional part. Even though this movie has its flaws, this was actually one of the better parts of the film. The fact that it looked like Celebi was legitly going to die. And they may even put it in the water, but we find out because the forest is destroyed, the water is essentially tainted because the forest is destroyed. They use Suicune's power to essentially cleanse the water, but not even that is working. And it looks like Celebi is going to die. There's going to be no way Sam gets home. but all of a sudden, Celebies from the past and future come out of this different time, and they come to heal the Celebi, bring Celebi back to full health, and Celebi is ready to go back to the past. Take Sam, you get an emotional goodbye with Sam and Ash. Again, you could really feel the connection between the two. I thought it was actually pretty cool, and stuff like that. They say their goodbyes, and everything. Eventually what happens is, oh yeah, I forgot to mention what happened to the Masked Marauder. You wanted to know because typically that's what we do get follow-ups to the villain. The Masked Marauder, he ends up falling like he tries to take Celebi after Celebi is actually fully healed. But Ash follows him, Pikachu uses Thunderbolt on his little jetpack. He literally falls like I would say 40 or 50 feet in the air, and somehow he's still alive. I know this is a kid's movie and it's Pokemon, and you can't say death is a bad thing. Well, play Pokemon Legends Arceus, and they actually use the word die. What is it? For somebody falling from this side, from this height, he should be dead. But okay, he somehow survived. All the Pokemon in the forest ganged up on him. And the three people, the one priestess, her granddaughter, and the one balloonist guy. The balloonist guy is like he's gonna do something, but doesn't really do anything really. We don't know what happens to him. I'm guessing he just ended up going to jail and stuff like that. So yeah, but whatever. Going on. After Ash and company say goodbye to the people of the forest. What is it? We get a talk with Professor Oak. They tell Professor Oak about everything that happened. He thinks it's all cool and everything. He then asks Ash about, why do you look all down? Because you haven't said anything. And Ash is like, well, I made a friend who had to go back to his own time and stuff like that. That's when Professor Oak is like, well, you see, Ash, there's the good thing about friendships. Friendships can span over lifetimes. It doesn't matter how far in time it is. I guarantee you, Sammy's somewhere knowing that he'd still want to be your friend, even though he must be 40 years older than you are. So yeah. And obviously Ash is like, yeah, you're right. And Ash is like, well, we'll tell you more about this when we get back to Pallet Town and everything. So yeah, but I'm like, Pallet Town, I'm like, wait, aren't they in Johto right now? So by the time they go back to Pallet Town, he expresses, if you want to be in the canonology, the canon of this series, if you want to put this movie in the canon of the franchise, well then guess what? It would be after Misty and Brock dipped. Anyways, yeah. And then we get twist at the end of the movie, the fact that Sam is actually a younger version of Professor Oak, which references the fact that he said, I should have probably told him. Honest to God, it probably would have been helpful if you would have told Ash, hey, Ash, you're going to meet a past version of myself when I was a kid, and you're going to be interacting with a Celebi and a Suicune. Do best to try to avoid all the incidents that happens. Who knows? Maybe the movie actually changes. If Professor Oak actually know the bad things that happened, maybe if he had told Ash this experience, well, then guess what? None of the issues where Celebi almost dies probably would have never happened to begin with, but maybe he didn't want to fracture some sort of space-time continuum type of thing and affect the flow of time and stuff like that, because then it would have made it some sort of time paradox. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, and that's it. End of the movie. Now, I'll say, if you watch the English version, the dub version of this movie, you get a pretty badass ending song. I thought it was actually pretty cool. I think it's called like Celebrate, and it's saying Celebi in it. It's a pretty badass song, and it's honestly dope. I love listening to that song. That's actually pretty good. One of the good parts of this film. And whatever, you kind of get some background information how they say goodbye to the others and stuff like that. So yeah. Tracy also in the credits comes across Professor Oak's drawing book and sees the drawing of Ash and Celebi and stuff like that. So yeah. Okay. Well. My thoughts on this film, now that we're at the end of Pokemon Forever. Look, Pokemon Forever is a very nostalgic film, and genuinely, I think it's a good flick to watch. and stuff like that for fun and just for pure nostalgia, like I said. But in the grand scheme of things for this Pokemon movie as a whole, is this a good Pokemon movie? No, I don't think it is. Honestly, if you ask me, I think it can be up there if you want to ask, because there's a lot of people that actually do like Pokemon Forever, that some people might actually, that there are other people that say this is not a good movie. I think Pokemon Forever is probably one of the most overrated Pokemon films in the franchise. Listen, my thing is this. I will say this. It's not a good movie. Um, is it a good Pokemon movie for its standards? It's in the middle for me. In some cases, I think it's a pretty overrated film. But at the same time, I think it's got some solid points. So I'm kind of in the middle of it, but it's kind of a meh type of movie. I just think the negatives in this film kind of outweigh the good of this film. But still, from a pure nostalgia standpoint, it's still a nice movie to check out once in a while and stuff like that. So yeah, but overall, it's not a good Pokemon movie. Um Honestly, I'd probably rank it even lower than Pokemon the first movie. So my rankings are Pokemon the movie 3, 2000 first movie, and then Forever, and stuff like that. But it is what it is. So yeah, but those are my thoughts on Pokemon Forever. If you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on Pokemon Forever. Do you think it's overrated, and do you not like it, or do you love it, and is it your favorite Pokemon movie? It's Pokemon Forever. Even though it has its flaws, it still holds a soft space in my heart. And I still like it for what it is, even though it has its problems. So yeah, but like I said, that's pure nostalgia kicking in. So yeah, but anyway, hit the subscribe button if you want to get more Pokemon movie content, as well as any other anime I upload to the channel. And next week, we'll be talking about another iconic film, which honestly I can say probably is the last time I'll actually say that for quite a while. No, actually, no, I think I'm right. Iconic film, because this is kind of the part of people's lives where Pokemon started to phase out of people's lives and stuff like that. But what I mean is you're getting one of the most well-known, iconic, most nostalgic films of the Pokemon franchise, and that's the 5th movie of Pokemon, Pokemon Heroes. So if you like Pokemon Forever, will it hold up good enough? Or again, is it just as overrated as Pokemon Forever is? But we'll be back next week to get my thoughts on it. But other than that, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until then, guys, stay safe out there. Peace.